What if I told you that dance could change your brain? Not just how you feel, but how it actually functions. And not in a vague, exercise is good for you way, but in measurable clinical outcomes tied to cognitive decline. Today, we're looking at one of the highest levels of evidence in research to answer the question, can dance actually protect your brain as you age? As we age, cognitive decline becomes one of the biggest concerns. Things like memory loss, slower processing speed, reduced executive function, and ultimately conditions like dementia. So researchers are asking, can movement, specifically something like dance, help protect the brain? Dance is especially interesting because it's not just exercise. It combines physical movement, music, coordination, memory, and social interaction, which means it may stimulate something we call neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt and change over time. So as I mentioned, this study is what we call a systematic review and meta-analysis. And I want to pause here for just a second because this type of study really matters. A systematic review means researchers didn't just look at one study, they searched through thousands of studies, filtered them based on strict criteria, and selected only the highest quality evidence. In this case, they started with nearly 4,000 studies and narrowed it down to just 11. And importantly, these were randomized controlled trials. That means participants are randomly assigned to different groups, usually one group doing the intervention, like dance, and another group doing something else, like walking, education, or no activity. The goal is to isolate the effect of the intervention itself so we can say with more confidence that this is what caused the change. And then a meta-analysis goes one step further. It takes the data from those individual studies and combines them into one larger analysis, almost like creating one big study from many smaller ones. So instead of relying on one experiment, we're looking at patterns across multiple studies, different populations, and different settings. That's why this type of research sits near the top of the evidence hierarchy. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but it gives us a much more reliable picture of what's actually going on. So the researchers screened nearly 4,000 studies and ended up including 11 studies with over 1,400 participants. These participants were age 55 and older, and some were healthy, and some had mild cognitive impairment. The dance interventions varied a lot, 1 to 3 times per week, 35 to 60 minutes per session, and lasting anywhere from 3 months to a full year. And the styles included things like ballroom dance, aerobic dance, folk dance, and even dance-based video games. Most classes followed a structure similar to what you'd expect: a warm-up, movement practice, cool down, and importantly, some social interaction built in. Now, this is where it gets really important. They didn't just say, people felt better. They measured specific cognitive domains, including global cognitive function or overall brain performance, executive function or decision-making, memory and learning, attention, and language. These were measured using standardized clinical tests like the MMSE or Mini Mental State Exam, MoCA or the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, and trail making tests. So we're talking about objective clinical data. Now, what was the biggest takeaway? Dance probably improves overall cognitive function. They found a statistically significant improvement in global cognition scores with an average increase of about 1.58 points on the MMSE. And here's why that matters. That change actually exceeds what's considered a clinically meaningful difference. So this isn't just statistical noise, it's something that could matter in real life. Even more interesting, the effects were strongest in people with mild cognitive impairment, meaning dance may be especially beneficial for those already experiencing decline. Another key finding of this study involved executive function. Executive function is things like task switching, planning, and adapting to new situations. The results here were a bit mixed. Overall, dance showed moderate evidence of improvement, but not consistently across all studies. However, when they looked specifically at people with cognitive impairment, there were signs of meaningful improvements. So again, the benefit may depend on where someone is starting. Lastly, the third main finding involved memory and attention. And this is where things get interesting. For memory and learning, there was little to no consistent improvement overall. And for attention, there was also no major difference compared to those control groups. So dance is not a magic bullet for every aspect of cognition, but there were small improvements in certain types of memory, like recalling stories or meaningful information, which actually makes sense from a dance perspective, because dance is not just memorization, it's contextual, embodied memory. So why would dance help the brain at all? The authors point to several mechanisms. Increased hippocampal volume, which is important for memory, better brain connectivity between hemispheres, and activation of motor plus cognitive plus sensory systems at the same time. And this is key. Dance is multi-component. It's not just cardio, it's learning choreography, responding to music, coordinating with others, and making decisions in real time. That combination may create a stronger stimulus for the brain than aerobic exercise alone. Now, here's an important reality check. Dance was not consistently better than other forms of exercise, like walking or aerobic training. So, movement itself is powerful. But dance might offer additional layers such as creativity, social connection, and cognitive challenge. And that combination could be what makes it unique. Like all research, this study has some limitations. First, there were small sample sizes in some areas. Second, there were different dance styles and program designs. Third, there was a lack of consistency in how cognition was measured. And finally, not all cognitive domains were studied. For example, no studies looked at social cognition or perceptual motor function, even though those are huge in dance. So there's still a lot we don't fully understand. So what does this mean for dancers? Here's the ballet science takeaway. Dance is not just artistic, it's not just physical, it's brain activity. And especially over the long term, it may play a role in maintaining cognitive health as we age. Not because it's magical, but because it challenges your brain in multiple ways at once. And honestly, that aligns with what we see in ballet training. Memorizing combinations, adapting quickly, coordinating complex movement, and expressing meaning. You are constantly training your brain. So the next time someone asks, "Is dance actually good for you?" you can say, there is real scientific evidence that it may help support brain function over time. Thank you for joining me today for the Ballet Science Podcast. Whether you are a dancer, teacher, student, or simply curious about the mechanics behind movement, I appreciate you being here today. Each week, we will explore the intersection of science and ballet, from injury prevention and biomechanics to nutrition, mindset, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow this podcast, leave a review, and share it with your friends and dance community. If there are specific topics you'd like to hear about in future episodes, feel free to share them in the comments below. You can also follow Ballet Science on social media and visit our website at ballet.science for additional information. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Ballet Science Podcast.